G'day, there you go. Well, it's another time for another video. Content creators are still doing their stuff with the transfers. With me, I don't. Not really interested, as I said in the other video. I'll go and have a look, see if there's anything exciting. I've actually popped over to Connors, believe it or not. He's doing a morning one, the rumour mill, which isn't too bad. But it's, same old, same old. Joe's doing all right with his. He does the little short ones, and Leeds lately's doing some. And of course, Joe's doing his, but he puts his in the news. But he's got one out for with only Leeds Bros. He did a podcast, and they talk about transfers, so that's worth a look as well. Yeah, I'm looking forward to a Lockie actually, because sometime this week, excitement is coming. Lockie's putting out a video for his recruits, ones that he's found. So hopefully he might find another Tanaka or two or three. Let's hope so. So I'm looking forward to that. You see, I understand the thought process of the Premier League, getting experienced players in and all the rest of it. However, I also appreciate that you can get players in, and you got to improvise, you overcome and adapt. You've heard me say that before, and I keep saying it. Who you can get to adapt to the Premier League, and it doesn't really take too much. Speaking from experience, not of getting players into the Premier League, but I'll go into that in either another video or in the next 5 minutes. Can the manager, coaching staff, the medical staff turn the players that have been retained into Premier League material? That's another question to be asked. I think that there's a lot of them that have got potential. I mean, this is where my experience, not in football though, has been that you can turn riffraff into a well-oiled, well-disciplined unit in a short period of time. I've done it. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to things like that. If I can do it with limited resources, I'm sure Leeds United can. I was headhunted. I was working for General Motors Holdings, making car parts, and I was offered a job as a supervisor in the Nissan Motor Company. And the idea was to start a press shop, stamping plant. It's called, technical terms, it's a press shop, making car parts. And I got a trip to Japan. This is where I'm I've got a soft spot for the Japanese. And that's why I like Tanaka. Not just because it's Japanese, but I can understand the cultural side of it and all the rest of it, which is very important, especially for the Japanese. So I was told I'd get the best of the best to put together a team that will run a press shop, multi-skill them, train them up to be a well-oiled machine so that we can break all the records for quick die changes and all sorts of stuff. I don't want to bore you with all the details, but there's, the stamping plant people who work in press shops take pride in being able to do break these records, quickest die change, parts per hour, how many, all your KPIs, hitting all your KPIs type things. We were very good at it. I was promised the bee's knees of the crew, and what did I get? I got the dirty dozen, the lowest of the low. Well, I shouldn't really say that, but I got all the rejects from all different other departments of Nissan, the people they didn't want. The sort of like rejects, and I whipped them into shape. So that's why I think I've got a right to say what I say about players, and knowing Farker and knowing a bit about the business and how to what it takes to get people up there, in there and fighting and all the rest of it. That's where my experience comes in, and where I'm entitled to a say. I'm entitled to a say anyway, but I've got something behind me to suggest that I've got a little bit more than the average Joe Blow in that department. So that's interesting, isn't it? Now, a couple of people have asked me a couple of questions. One person from Leeds Unfiltered asked me I mentioned in a comment about it'd be interesting to know how you became a Leeds United supporter. Well, I can't actually, because he was talking about people overseas. How did you end up supporting Leeds when you live so far away? That sort of thing. I think that's what he was after. Well, to answer that question, I wasn't. I was born in Leeds, Wingate Road in Armley. As a matter of fact, Danny talks sport. He's got family there. I don't know whether he was brought up there. May have done. So we've got a bit of a connection. Small world, isn't it? So that's it. But I left England when I was 5. No, I didn't get up and leave because I was 5 years old. My mum and dad decided to up and shoot over, and they had a choice of Canada or Australia. They chose Australia. So that's where I ended up at 5 years old. My nan used to send me over newspapers, sports newspapers, that I used to get to have a look at as I grew older. And we always followed Leeds up. The first time in Australia that I actually saw a game was the Arsenal Leeds FA Cup, where we won 1-0. So that's basically where I really started following Leeds. I've always known I've come from Leeds. I've always been a Leeds supporter, but it wasn't until I got into sort of like 11, 12 years. What would it be? I would have been 12 when the FA Cup was. When we won the FA Cup. So since the age of 12, I followed Leeds on and off. But unfortunately, in Australia, they used to have all the sports. They used to have all the soccer results from all over the country, all over the world, and from places you didn't even know existed. But then over time, it just disappeared, and you didn't get that anymore. So it drifted on. So I've basically drifted in and out with Leeds, being a Leeds United supporter. But you're born in Leeds, and you're just a Leeds fan. You can't. I couldn't support anyone else, in the soccer world. I might have a soft spot for certain sides, but not really. If you were to say in the Bundesliga, who would I follow? I got a soft spot for 1860, I think the side is. They're probably down in the lowest leagues of the Bundesliga. There's things like that. I don't follow anyone in Spain, Portugal, France. I'm not really interested. Scotland, I'm a Celtic supporter, but that's the connection between, Billy Bremner, and I come back from all those old days. So in answer to your question, Mr. Unfiltered Leeds, I've always been a Leeds supporter. It's just the way it is. And I think a lot of people who are Leeds supporters have either met a Leeds supporter over time, or I can't answer that question. I've always been a Leeds supporter. So overseas. Now I'm in New Zealand, so that's that. Now there's another guy. I saw him in the chat on. I think it was Just Joe's. I think it was Just Joe. Luke B. Leeds. His handle is in the chat. He wanted to know about. I talked about. I was in Japan I lived in Japan for 3 months learning. It was all work related, but I spent 3 months over there, and you learn about all the sorts of things that the Japanese do. You learn about how they do things and all, and nothing's actually. It's not surprise. It's basic stuff. A lot of the stuff that I learned from a management point of view was stuff that the Western world already knew about, but just didn't bother doing anything. The Japanese have a way of getting things. That is my washing. So after this video, I've got to go put the washing out. The Japanese always... they're very good at taking things and making them better. So what they did was they took a Western idea, and it started off with Denning, who had 7 things you should do in a business point of view, and it wasn't accepted by the Western world. But the Japanese saw the potential of it and took that and they developed it and they progressed it, and they've just gone through leaps and bounds. And that all started with, they used to mass produce stuff like China does now, and most of it was shit. But now they've done it to a point of everything excellence. They're after excellence, which is fantastic. They have like they do the improvise, the overcome and adapt, and you've heard me talking about that before, so you know where it's all coming from. And it's the funny thing is, a lot of their philosophy we do anyway. You take a place for everything in its place, cleanliness, tidiness, orderliness. They're fanatics for that. And when you think about it, we do the basics of that, place for everything in its place. Well, you got your knife and forks in the drawer. You got your tea in the tea caddy, your coffee in the coffee jar. You got your sugar in the sugar thing. Your plates and that go in this cupboard. Your pantry. I'd say you do it. We do this sort of stuff, but they've taken it to another level, which is I was amazed and I loved it. They're also very respectful people. Which is also interesting, like you sort of you don't appreciate how polite they are and how respectful they are of other people. Sometimes it comes off as being a bit snobbish, but it's not true. I remember one time. One of the guys that was driving us around, he was actually a senior supervisor, and he needed to fart, so he stopped the car, went outside and wiggled his bum, and then got back in the car and started driving. So it's just one of those things you do. One of the things I found difficult to grasp was you always walk in front of women. You don't open doors for them and stuff like that. So I was a bit of a superhero over there, because I'd be walking around and there'd be a woman behind me, and I'd open the door for her and let her through first, and she was all sort of, they sort of, oh, we love this guy. It's a bit of a brown nose. Well, it wasn't brown nose; I'd just be myself. That's what I'd do. But and it was great. It was a great experience to learn all about those sorts of things. And all they do is they take what we've got and they make it better. Where I was working, they had a 3-day turnover of material, which is, you're really pushing it. When we were there, one of their big transfer presses broke down, a 3,200 ton tri-axis transfer press. The motor had gone. They got when it went down, what they did basically was put all the workload onto other machines. Overtime increased. They got everybody together, all the different departments together in one room, and they sorted themselves out who was going to do what, and how they were going to put it back together, who was going to take the rest of the workload, how they would cover everything, and it just worked like clockwork. And the thing was, when you went in the room, you couldn't tell who was who. They have little hard hats on, and they got badges on there. So, unless you know what the symbols stand for, you could be standing next to the CEO for all we knew, because they all dress the same in the same uniform outfit, work overalls, that type of thing. So it was a fascinating experience. And where we were, we didn't stay in a hotel. We weren't in a hotel or anything like that. We stayed in a dormitory. The fortunate thing for us probably was we got a room to ourselves, whereas normally they'd have 3 or 4 people in one room. Other workers, like there was a lot of Filipinos over there, a lot of people from Thailand, Vietnam, and the rest of it who used to work for Nissan and send the money back home. So it was great. I love the whole thing and the culture, all the rest of it. And they say things are expensive over there. I didn't find them too expensive. If you want to try and eat Western food all the time, yeah, then it can get expensive. You know, take a steak, $30 or $40 just for the steak. Forget any gravy or anything like that, sauce, jus, or anything like that. You know, and this was back in 1990, so a lot's changed since then. So, but judging by what I've seen and what I've heard from friends and all that, the work ethic is the same, and it can be very hard to live up to some of the expectations of what's expected of you. So yeah, that was my time in Japan. I came back a better person for it, I think, and I still, after it's what was 1990, so that's what 35 years ago, and I'm still influenced by what I learned in that short 3-month period I was over in Japan. And when I hear stuff about Tanaka, I can fully understand what he's going through and what he's doing. He will be actually putting in the hard yards. And then also the captain of Spurs, although he's South Korean, is another one who would be his work ethic and his commitment to the team would be astronomical. And they're very loyal people as well. So anyway, that's my Japan little experience. If you've got any more questions about that, Luke B. Leeds, you can always drop me a comment and ask me about that. Anyway, this has gone on for nearly 20 minutes, so I think that's about enough of that, I should think. Anyway, not long now. There's not a lot going on. People are just talking about players they'd want or who they're. Yeah, I'm not interested in that. I'm more interested in when somebody's there signing the bottom line with the Leeds manager next to him, something like that. When he's signing that piece of paper, that's all I'm interested in. And I don't think we need a couple of good players, but I think that we've got the basis of a good squad. But recruitment's going to be the big thing. We need to have a few solid. I'm not saying we don't need Premier League players, but they certainly won't go amiss. But the criteria, and I keep saying this, and I'll keep repeating myself, is 1, ability, 2, character, and 3, the price. Or if the price is too high, don't. You know, they were talking about Vardy. Vardy's 39. No, don't want him. Too old. Yeah, he might have the experience and all the rest of it, but if he's on £140,000 a week, not paying that for what could last one game, and then you're stuck with him for 3 years or 2 years or whatever they decided. But nah, that sort of player's not for me. Anyway, that's it from me. Have a great weekend and have a great week and all the rest of it. Take care of yourselves, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.